The City of Auburn's Downtown Sculpture Gallery showcases 6 outdoor sculptures in various sizes, types, and mediums. Primarily located along Main Street, the Sculpture Gallery changes annually, providing different artwork for Auburn residents to experience and enjoy. Number 1 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Jump, created in painted steel by Francisco Salgado and located at B Street Southwest and Main Street. With technology, craft, and persistence, the artist Francisco Salgado strives to take impossible ideas and imagines them into sculpture. Jump is a combination of 4 forms. Grouped together, they become the abstract figurative form, enlivened by expression and energy.
I've been doing art since I graduated from the University of Oregon in '93, and I've been I was teaching sculpture classes, so I have worked with all kind of media, from clay, wood, stone, and bronze. And metal has been something that I've been doing most exclusively these days because it's more immediate work and you can get large really quick, but has a lot of problems also. It's really heavy and it's very durable, but it's really heavy, and sometimes moving these pieces takes a challenge. People ask me why my work is kind of that size, around 10, 11 feet, and the answer is because it fits in my truck. And usually I can move it by myself with a couple friends that they come and help me, and no need for big cranes and stuff, but this is proving a little bit different. So we might need to do a little bit something different to take it down. It's too high. But anyways, this piece is called Jump. It was kind of inspired by my son. I have a 12-year-old son, but at that time he was maybe around 6. And these kids are in constant motion. They are always jumping and doing all these gracious forms. So, and just watching him play, I ended up doing a lot of sketching, and I found this form. So, and my process is usually I get the idea, start trying to materialize the idea, and I work first with paper. So this thing was a little maquette, like 4 feet tall in paper. And once that I work all the kinks, and if I like it, then I just make it big. So, and that's what it is. Then the problem is finding the color and finding the place where it's going to go. When I work with metal, a lot of people like the steel to be just rusted. And I never liked that, part because I'm Mexican and we use color for everything. But another thing is because the rusting finish to me feels old, and you spend so much time and effort making these things to feel abandoned and just like in decay. So that's nothing wrong with people who like the rust, but I don't. So color is always very difficult for me to choose, and I ended up playing with so many different palettes and finding the right thing. So, and this color was a joke about a friend was making one that he painted Ferrari red. So I did Lamborghini yellow. So it was just a matter of finding a bright color, something that will pop. Because the idea is that people will driving and, oh, what is that? That they will see it. Otherwise, nobody will notice it. That's kind of the idea.
Number 2 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Watch My Tail. Created in powder-coated steel and aluminum by Patricia Vader, this sculpture is located at A Street Southwest and Main Street. Following the unbearable lightness of being concept to trump life's heavy side, the artist Patricia Vader strives to make art that is imaginative and exciting and filled with motion and light. Her artwork always represents something from the living world, however transformed or whimsical, which establishes a connection with the viewer.
Art is really my second career. I used to be a scientist, and then I really became more and more interested in art, and actually went to graduate art school, not the pre-graduate part, because I had already been in school a lot. And I started out with photography and painting, but was more interested in sculpture. It's just more, to me, it's more challenging. And then when I moved to a large area on a very windy hilltop, I came upon the idea of making kinetic sculptures, because I always have wind, and so it's just fun to make pieces that move. And since I have all this space, I can build, things as big as I want. Being limited for now, by the means of transportation, which is my truck, I always have to think about that. How do I get it there without having to rent something major? Well, Watch My Tail basically came about because of the tail. That's why it has the title, because the tail is a piece that was rescued from a children's playground, and I have 8 cats at home, and it made me think of a cat. And so then I started assembling, the rest of the piece basically around the tail, and used old materials where I could, parts salvaged from bicycles, like the noses, and the eyes are partly bicycle parts, and some new materials like the heads of the cats are cut out aluminum. I just bought a big sheet of aluminum and cut it out. And the pipe I had, the big one, and then I just had a pedestal welded to it, and the mustache, the whiskers are made. It's not found materials. I like to use motion in my work, and for the bigger pieces, it is real motion. Like I achieved that with using a lot of bicycle wheels. For this guy, it is an impression of motion, the tail spiraling up. And it usually makes people smile or laugh or say, hey, that's, playful or cool or, yeah.
Number 3 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Hare, created in found metal by Dan Klennert and located at 1st Street Northeast and North Division Street. From afar, artist Dan Klennert's found object sculptures are remarkable for their scale and realism, but looking closer, one can see the utilitarian objects in which the sculpture is made: a rake, a saw blade, a shovel. Klennert's sculptures are fun for audiences, evoking grins and double takes from everyone who sees them.
I started doing this art back in 1972. I was working as a mechanic, and my foreman showed me how to run a beetle weld, and I thought, well, if I'm going to practice welding, I'm going to grab some old gears and sprockets and practice welding. And I had about 4 or 5 sculptures on the floor in the shop, and my foreman came into the shop and he goes, "Where'd you get those things?" And I said, "Well, I made them." He looked at me, he says, "You might be doing the wrong thing for a living." Then I found he figured out that was my passion and my journey I'm supposed to be going down. And I kept doing it, and here I am 41 years later, got my own sculpture park, a boom truck. But my process is I find a piece of metal and it inspires me on what it wants to be. And then I fall in love with the idea, and I use that word love because that's what really pushes me to get it done, to actually have it physically standing in front of me. And I don't like commissioned pieces because I miss out on the inspiration and the love. There's money there. For people that love money, that would be their inspiration, but money doesn't do it for me. And that's why a lot of my pieces have a lot of personality and character. And I don't do just one thing. I have rabbits, I have dinosaurs, I have birds. And this rabbit, if you look at the ears, they're clam shovels, and I got the eyes are doorknobs. The under part of the head is an old cultivator plow. The arms are from a farm implement. I just used part of the framework. There's a brake shoe for his chest, a gas filter for the heart, chain hooks for the claws or the paws or toes. There's a Volkswagen rim for the hind haunches. There's pipe wrenches for the rear legs. Engine valves for the cottontail, and then this other framework and assortment of other things. Oh, there's a throwout bearing arm for the lower lip and jaw, and then the whiskers come from a wire framework mesh like stuff. If you take them apart, they got the curly cues to it. And this year I'm trying something new. I used vegetable oil to coat it, and I've been trying to find something that works for years, and the vegetable oil seems like it's working out pretty good. and it's going to be easy to touch up later on.
Number 4 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Organic, created in recycled steel by Jennifer Ellsworth and located at B Street Northeast and Main Street. Jennifer Ellsworth, as a recycled metal artist, explores junkyards and scrapyards for materials that no longer have a purpose in order to remake them into something beautiful. The artwork, Organic, transformed an old tank into a natural plant-like form with a colorful and textured surface.
I was taught welding through my friend, who we opened up a metal fabrication business, and I did construction for quite some time, and then started seeing gears be flower shapes, and he kind of laughed at me, and so I started welding, and it became something. I found this in one of my other art friends' yard. He does many auctions, and he has about 10 tanks just laying around. Otherwise, I scavenge around in like auto places and army places and stuff where they're scrapping metal. I use recycled pieces because I see the art inside of something that's already been made. The more raw, it is great to form, but the recycling, you can see the story behind it. It's past life, and I want to make it have a second life and a new story. Organic came from an oil tank that used to be diesel inside of it, so once I was plasma cutting into it, it would go into flames and burn all that old diesel that was lined inside. This was about a third of it, and then it came all the way out to here. It went about 8 feet tall, and up at this seam, that's where it had bent over, the very top, and I had to cut that out and bend that back. This seam was already a part of the oil tank, and I felt like leaving it there to kind of tell the story of what it was. These little guys are ball bearings from big semi-trucks, and then I welded rod to it to stiffen it up. The finish on this sculpture is a patina, and will rust it certain colors: purples, blues, yellows, reds, greens. The patina acts differently with different types of finishes that you do to the metal, like the sandblasting, grinding, wire wheeling. If it already was pre-rusted, it would act differently with the patina, and I got to dabble in that just to really play around. And there's also textures that you can do. You can seal it with a wax instead of a lacquer. It's really inspiring to see what you can turn metal into.
Number 5 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Origami Number 2, Fuchsia. Created in steel by Ken Hall, this sculpture is located at B Street Northeast and Main Street. Origami folded flowers made from sheet steel are poised above graceful stems that interweave and soar into the air as part of Origami Number 2, Fuchsia. Artist Ken Hall aims to delight and create artwork with energy, balance, and unity of form where everything belongs and nothing is missing.
I went to the University of Washington and didn't know what I was going to do, and I went there. I thought I might be an engineer. I took some art classes, and I'd done art previously in high school a little bit. And I ended up majoring in art. I did some painting, a little bit of metal design, like jewelry design, small pieces. I think I took one welding class. I graduated with a degree in art, and most people that graduate with a degree in art don't do much with it. And I didn't for a long time. About 7 or 8 years ago, I heard about the program at South Puget Sound Community College called Fire Art, and it's something that you have the opportunity to go in and use the welding studio at the college. It's once a week during the school year for 3 hours, and the experience was great. The instructors were encouraging, and the people that I worked with, we fed off each other. And again, there I started small. I was making smaller pieces, and then I kind of kept getting bigger and bigger. And I do most of my work at home, although I do go and use the tools. Some of the tools, this piece, the bends, I had to do on a machine that was done at the school. This piece is called Origami Number 2, Fuchsia. I've thought of a lot of other things to explore, a lot of other ways to present the origami flowers. The first one, they were rusted. This one, I added color to it. The inspiration originally for the origami flower came from a little paper origami flower I had in my studio that I had saved and been thinking about using in a piece. As far as the color, I decided I wanted to powder coat the flowers, and And I thought about other possibilities for the rest of the piece, including rust like this. Another thought was to go ahead and powder coat the whole piece, and just decided against this because it's steel, and it I don't want to cover it all up, I guess is the best way to put it. The steel is treated with hydrogen peroxide, and that gives it the rust, so I was able to create that quickly rather than letting it weather and having it take its time. It will continue to weather, and it will get a deeper patina on it. Leach flour is 8 pieces of steel that are scored and folded and then welded together. Again, here I'm playing with different ways of presenting the origami flowers, and I don't know what I'll come up with next, but I've got some ideas.
Number 6 in the Auburn Downtown Sculpture Gallery is Feather. Created in stainless steel and steel by Kris Vermeer, located at Auburn Way South and Main Street. Artist Kris Vermeer's steel feather sculpture explains that feathers hold great meaning to me, a source of wisdom and inspiration, and a marvel at how something so light can be so strong. This sculpture is tribute to the Native American culture and America as well.
I've been working in metal for about 15 years. I'm so drawn to ancient cultures and ancient beliefs, and that is primarily the area that I focus on because I do have such a love for the ancient civilizations. When it comes to creating of a piece, I usually see the image in my head first, and it comes with an emotional feeling. And depending on the strength of the emotional feeling, decides whether or not I create that piece. For me, I love creating because when I get that image and I get that feeling, I feel like a little kid on Christmas morning the whole time that I'm working on. I can't wait to get up in the morning so I can go out and start working. It's the best thing ever. My piece is stainless steel and is to represent an eagle feather, and I've created this in honor of the Native American culture and America. The spine on the feather is solid stock, starting at 3/4 an inch and dropping down to 1/4 of an inch. And the edges are stainless steel, which I have plasma cut, and then a lot of grinding. People seem to be really drawn to the image of the feather and everything that it does symbolize, no matter what culture or belief you're from. So it's been very positive.
2013 Downtown Sculpture Gallery, People's Choice winner and now part of Auburn's permanent collection, is Riparian Totem. Fused glass interpretations depicting themes central to Auburn's distant and recent history are part of this stunning artwork by Lynn Rebellini McJunkin.
The piece behind me is called Riparian Totem, and it consists of 3 strands of metal that represent strands of grass, and they're divided up into 3 or 4 sections, and each section tells a story, something related to the city of Auburn. And all the symbols in it are based on my interpretation of Coast Salish tribal traditions. It's called riparian because it refers to the 2 rivers that come together here, the Green and the White rivers. So there's a section in the glass that's got water symbology in it. There are also sections related to your agricultural past. For instance, there's a section with berries on it, and there's another one with hops, and there's a third one that's related to the dairy industry. And then bringing up to modern times, there's also a section with bird feathers in it and related to the aeronautical industry that's so prevalent to Auburn's current life.
It's a tricky thing when you put your work in a public place because everybody is going to see it, and you never know who is going to be offended or who is going to be thrilled about the work. So, but there is something that you have to gamble with. So you present your work the way it is and hoping that people will enjoy it as much as you do when you're making it.
It's great for the public too because they have the opportunity to walk down the street and enjoy pieces and look at them at different angles and speculate or just drive by and maybe not really see them but maybe feel them.
People really notice and they enjoy it. It kind of brightens them up.
Vote for your favorite. A People's Choice competition is underway to allow residents and visitors alike to cast a vote for a favorite work of art which may be purchased to become part of the city's permanent public art collection. Cast your vote at www.auburnwa.gov auburn.org/sculpture or at Auburn City Hall, located at 25 West Main Street.